Okay, we are on part 2 of lesson 5, or part B. We're going to open O5B start. Now most of these lessons are very short. This one is a little more involved because it's got some pretty amazing editing things in it, editing skills. So first step, let's go up and rename layer C, O5, and this is the second one, so it's B, O5B. And let's save it as a PSD. All right, I can get rid of that. All right, let's go to our layers palette, and we're going to make an adjustment layer. And we're going to adjust the levels on this. Okay, now notice the blacks start in right here. So that's no bueno. So we're going to bring the blacks up so it comes to the beginning of that little mountain right there. Notice how that really kind of richened up the color, if that's a word, richened. All right, the middle slider, this deals with the midtones. So let's drag that to the left till we get to, like, let's go 118. 1.18. And then what this slider below it does is it tells you what the darkest darks are and the brightest brights. So right now, black is the darkest you go and white is the brightest you go, which is, you know, really all you can do in Photoshop. Now if I adjust this, notice if my darkest is a gray, we lose all the rich dark colors. So we're going to leave those where they are. All right, and just to show you what the change was, I'm going to turn off this, what we just added. See how it kind of made things pop a little better. We didn't get any brighter, but we kind of brought up our darks. Okay, so very nice. Next step. Click on the background layer, and you're going to right click and choose duplicate layer. Now if you don't for some reason have the right click, because I know there were a couple people that are having issues, you can also go to layer and duplicate. Just make sure you're duplicating the background layer. And that's what we got here with layer 1. We're going to rename that by clicking on the word layer 1, and we're going to call this corrections. Alright, so the reason we duplicate it because we don't want to mess with our original. We want to have that in case we need to do something to it. Okay, so we're on our corrections layer, and I'm going to zoom in a little bit. I want just the face. Let me go a little closer. In fact, I could even zoom in a little more if I wanted to. Yeah, that's good there. Now I'm going to come over here to the spot healing brush. It's right below the eyedropper tool. Okay. My settings are at 15 pixels. That's probably fine. We maybe could take it down to 10. Alright, let's click out of that. And see this hair that's running in her face? We don't want that. So we want to try and get rid of that. So I'm going to kind of slowly go along that hair. I don't have to go all the way. And the spot healing brush takes it out. I can do it in small chunks. Oops. And let's get the last part of it. There we go. Now there are some others. We can get rid of this one here because we don't want a bunch of stray hairs in the way. We can get this one in the eye. We don't want that there. Get rid of some of these. Careful not to get the eyebrow. There's one here. Get rid of that. There's a light one. We can pull some of these out. I mean, you don't want to go crazy with it because, you know, it's like opening Pandora's box. Once you start editing little things, it almost never ends. So we can maybe pull some of these out of here. We don't need them. All right. Yeah, that works. Looks like there's a little one right here I can get rid of. So yeah, we can get rid of some of these ones that we don't want. There we go. Now, when you zoom out, you'll never even notice those are gone. All right, so we took care of the hairs, but I think there's a lot of other things we can do here. If you look, we've got these kind of wrinkles under the eyes. We can come in and pop out some of these. Now, I just want to say officially, I hate that we can do this because I think this has made our society obsessed with an unachievable kind of idea of perfection, and I think it's crappy. But, you know, having said that, these are skills that you can use in Photoshop. So we got the eyes looking better. Let's grab these smile lines here. Kind of clean some of that up. There's one there. All right. I'm going to zoom out a little bit just so I can see. Okay, it looks pretty natural. We got rid of some of those things. And if you want to see the difference, you can turn off the corrections layer and see what we've taken out. We want it to always look realistic. We don't want it to look edited. And that's where things like Instagram filters absolutely fail. Is you don't want things to look like they've been edited. All right, what else can we mess with here? Let's go, actually, let's look at her eyes. Okay, we've got some interesting veins in the eyes that we don't want. So let's see if we can get that out of there. You might be able to get some of this red if you go small enough. You don't want to go too much because then it looks fake. Let's get this other eye. Use the hand to drag us over there. And where am I on the spot healing brush? So we'll try and get that out. Ooh, that did not help. Okay, let's get this one first. Maybe we just go a little bit at a time and see if that'll do it. Oh, Control Z if it doesn't work. That one doesn't look good. See how that left a little spot there? We don't want that. What you might need to do is make the brush smaller and zoom in to make sure we got this right. That's next to the P. You've got the two brackets, the left and right brackets. The left one makes it smaller. All right, this is working. And then the right bracket makes it bigger. If you look at right here. So that way you don't have to go up here to change it every time. All right, I'm going to zoom out a little bit. It's looking pretty good. Now this is the part I especially hate about what we can do with Photoshop. And it's one of the most useful things. So let's take our size back down to like 10 again. And we've got some imperfections here. And usually you can just click on them and that's enough to heal those spots. Now, you don't want to do every single, thing on her face or it's going to look a little weird. It'll look unnatural. People don't look plastic like that. But, if you have some acne or whatever, this is a way you can do that. This is a way that if you have these skills, you can make a lot of money off of people who are terrified of their imperfections. And I think that's terrible. But, you want people to be happy. So, as somebody with lots of moles and freckles, I've learned to just embrace them, Like I said, you could end up going down the rabbit hole and fixing every little spot But, I mean, we don't want to do that. You know, there's one up here. Might be able to fix that. Okay. I think we got a lot of the obvious things. Maybe one here. So yeah, we've definitely made some corrections. If you go back to the original, you know, we fixed some things for sure. Now most of that stuff you'll never notice when the image is at full size. So you don't even see the change when you're this far away. So it might be just really subtle changes. All right, let's make our healing brush, our spot healing brush. Let's take it up to 19. And we're going to change the hardness to like 50%. Actually, do we want this or we want the healing brush? I think we want the healing brush. So let's take that to 50. I could be wrong. We might want the spot healing brush. I can't remember which one I used. And we're going to change the hardness to 50 again. That's right. And we want to click aligned up above. Okay, we want that there for sure. All right, so we are going to hold down Alt. It's kind of big. Oh, that's because we made the size 50. It's supposed to be 19. Like, that's not what we want. Okay, now we're better off. We want a smaller brush. Okay, so we're going to try and deal with these bags under her eyes. It's probably makeup, but it sort of looks kind of dark and sickly. So what we're going to do is hold down Alt, and you get the little crosshairs. And we're going to find a spot that's nice and light, like maybe here. And then we're going to click and drag. And I think if you work from the bottom up, it helps to lighten these areas. Okay, just kind of give an idea of what we've changed. That's where we started, and here's where we left off. Okay, so it definitely got rid of those bags under the eyes. Now when we go to this other side, we need to hold down Alt again. Now we don't want this really bright stuff because it's going to look weird. But if we start here on the bottom, start putting in some of these lighter areas. Ooh, see what happened there? That's bad. Undo that. You don't want to have to try and fix that. So let me grab here. Oh, did it over there. All right. Let's see. Grab this. Maybe. Oh, that's all bad. What is happening? Yeah, this is not working right. All right, well, maybe we do want to grab over here and lighten this up a little bit. See, it's darkening there. I don't like that. Oh, it's just becoming a mess. All right, let's see what we started with. Oh, it's already way better. So that's where we were. Here's where we are now. So, yeah, I mean, you don't have to make it perfect, but we are definitely trying to help things a little bit. You get some of that. Ooh, that didn't work. Yeah, again, you can't go too bright or it just doesn't work. There we go. That's a little more realistic. Ooh, that one tailed off pretty bright. All right. So I don't want to kind of beat a dead horse. There are other ways to adjust this, but that's how you can kind of start to make a little bit of a dent in the bags under her eyes. All right, let's save because we haven't done that in a while. Save. Okay, there it is. Make sure we're still recording. Okay, we're good. All right. Then let's go to the Dodge tool. Okay, it's the one that looks like a lollipop. Okay, we want to go up, change our size. We're going to make our size 65. We're going to make the exposure 20. And, oops, and the hardness we want to turn down to 20 as well. Which means our effect isn't going to be super dramatic. But you'll see it's dramatic enough. So what we're going to do is we're going to do one pass under the eyes here. I'm going to start up here. And it just lightens it a little bit. Now if I go over it again, it's going to be too much. So one pass is all we need. So if you have to do it a couple times to get it right. Alright, so yeah, turn that on and off. Definitely has helped. Really changed the look of her. Look how that changes her look. Alright, so just one pass with that on each eye is really all you need. You know, you might try and get that a little bit, but even that I would leave alone because that's naturally where it cuts in and gives you a shadow. Alright, let's go back to the dodge tool. And we're going to grab the sponge tool out of there. Let's adjust this a little bit. We're going to go up and change the size to 35. The hardness, we're going to take all the way down to 0. Okay, and we want to make sure the mode is set to saturate. And what I want to do is I'm going to zoom in, Control plus to zoom in. Oops. Keep grabbing the wrong tool. So I can see the eye. Okay, back to the sponge. And I'm just going to sponge in the eye right here. And just once over, don't let go of the mouse button or it'll be too much. Look at the difference just between those two right now. Okay, come back over here. Now these tricks work pretty much on any skin tone or eye color. It still works. It's just you got to adjust the different elements. You know, I'm not really feeling this, so let's undo those and let's change the flow to 50% because I felt like, oh, not 550. I felt like it was too much. So I'm going to zoom back in on this eye. Back to my sponge. That's a little more subtle. Okay, and let's get this other one. I think that looks more natural. So like I was saying, you gotta, do some adjustments to make sure everything looks realistic. And you thought she had blue eyes. There's a whole lot of yellow in there, or green anyway. There was blue or green. All right, so we have made those adjustments on the eye. Let's go back to the dodge tool and let's change the size to 20. And we're going to change the hardness to 10%. We're going to really soften this one up. And we're going to change the exposure to 10%. So it's really just kind of subtly doing it. All right. So what we're going to do is we're going to go into the whites of the eyes and we're going to lighten it up a little bit. Now don't do too much or it'll look freakish. And we might grab just a hair in here, just a tiny bit. Now if I look at the difference, that's where we started, that's where we are now. And I might actually try and lighten that up there. Okay, it's looking pretty good. We might have gone a little overboard on the lightness in the eyes, but that's okay. All right, let's change our size to 40. And then what I want to do is I want to fix this area up here. I want to lighten that. Now don't go crazy with it, just 1 or 2 passes. Kind of lighten up this skin up here. Yeah, I don't want to go into the eyes. I don't like it. But yeah, just up and around the eyes, just to make that pop a little bit better. Yeah, I like it. If I zoom out, it's not too overly dramatic. It kind of brought those bones up a little bit more. She sure did a lot to tone it down with the makeup, and you kind of have to bring it back if you overdo it with the makeup. All right, let's go over here to our corrections layer, and we're going to duplicate that again. Okay, but we're going to call this one Surface Blur. Okay, this is where we're going to go next level with this thing. But we want to move that one. Oh, I missed a layer. Okay, let's do it now. Let's add a new adjustment layer, and we're going to add curves. Okay, let me see if I can remember where this is, because I didn't write this down. I missed this step somehow. Oh, maybe I got rid of it. Oh well. Okay. Yeah, so ooh, that's bad. We're just going to grab that little node and we'll take it up just a hair in the center right there, just off that center area. Let me back up and see what we got. Yeah, I think that's okay. Actually, maybe if we just bring it to the left a little bit. We don't want to go up because that brings too much brightness. But just to the left right there. All right, so we've got our curves layer. Forgot to do it, sorry. Okay, now our surface blur layer, this is what I was going to have you do, is take it up in between the levels and the curves layer. Okay, now here's where this starts to get interesting. All right, where was I at? Excuse me 1 second while I consult my notes. All right, so we're going to go to Filter. Make sure you're on the Surface Blur layer, or this is going to mess things up. Go to Blur, and down at the bottom, you're going to choose Surface Blur. Okay, and then it gives you this. Now notice what happens. She looks super blurry. Okay, so we got to adjust this stuff a little bit. Let's change the radius to 5. Let's change the threshold to 10 pixels. And hit OK. Okay, it's a little more subtle, but let's tone it down even more. We're going to change up here the opacity. We're going to change that to 30%. Okay, so if I zoom in on this, you can still see it's blurred quite a bit. Okay, that's at 30%. Okay, you can see it's blurred just a touch. Okay, now the problem is we don't want to blur the entire picture. We just want to, soften her skin a little bit, and that's really what this is trying to do. Again, from an ethical standpoint, I hate that we do this, but this has become a skill that people value in this industry, so we have to definitely, make sure that we give people what they want within reason. All right, so let's go to the eraser tool, and we're going to change the size. 15, is that what we want? Size should be 30. The hardness we want at 10%, not 100%. Okay. So we're going to take that way down. And our opacity up above, we're going to put at 90%. It's not 990. Okay. Now, what we've got is basically a duplicate of the corrections layer, but we blurred it. So we're going to zoom in. And we don't want her eyes to be blurry. Make sure you're on your eraser. So we're going to go in and we're going to erase the blurry parts of the eye. Okay, we can even come up a little bit. Now, you can't really see it yet, but you will. So let's just go in and erase the details in the eyes. Now, just to show you, if you hold down Alt and click on the eyeball on the layer, okay, that's what we have, you know. So we just erased the eyes on that layer. Let's turn them all back on. Let's do the same thing with the nose here. We kind of want to get the edge here. Let's get rid of the blur along this edge. We're going to do the same thing with the mouth. So let's knock out that blur. Again, the blur is pretty subtle, but we want her features to pop. So we don't want any blur on these kind of more interesting features. Okay, again, Alt. You can see what we've done. Maybe I'll go in and clean that up. Alt. Oh, it didn't. I did something else, so it won't let me do it that way. All right, and make sure you're on the surface blur. Let's get the eyebrows back. We want those to be sharp. Okay. Now, we're going to zoom out a bit, and we're going to change the size of our brush. Let's go up, and we're going to change this to 400. Okay, it's a big brush. And what I want to do is I'm going to try and erase, oops, let me undo that. I messed up a little bit. The stuff that's not part of the face. So I'm going to erase this up here. Go on this side. Doesn't have to be perfect. You know, I'm just erasing the stuff that's not part of the face. Now again, I can go back to my eraser tool. I can turn this sucker off and see what's what. All right, so I still have to get all of this over here. Turn it back on. Okay, let me move it down. And actually, I could go, you know, 600 or 800 on this bottom part, because I'm just trying to get rid of it. Just be careful not to get the face. Okay, if I look at where I'm at, did I miss anything? I missed some here. A little bit up there. Doesn't really matter, but it's just, this is the blurred part. So we definitely don't want everything blurred, just her skin a little bit. Okay, looks pretty good. And you can see with it on, it's kind of a subtle change. It just blurs it a little bit. Gives it a little bit of light, pops it up. All right, let's save. Okay, and just for fun, let's turn that back on. Let's go Alt and show you the original versus the finished product. Okay, original, finished product. Quite a dramatic change. Pretty incredible. All right, so we've saved it. Let's export as a JPEG. And we are ready to turn this sucker in. And that is it for lesson 5B.